Brad Arnold isn't just a rock singer. He's the voice behind songs that quietly lived in people's lives for years. The kind of voice you didn't always notice at first, but somehow always remembered. Because when you hear it, it hits something familiar, something honest, something real, and that's why his name keeps resurfacing again and again. Especially now, as people look back and realize just how much impact he's had without ever chasing the spotlight the way others did. Brad Arnold grew up in Mississippi, far from the glamour of the music industry, and his journey into rock music didn't start with fame in mind. It started with emotion, small-town reality, and a need to express what he felt but couldn't always say out loud. Before arenas and chart-topping hits, there were garages, small shows, and a band of friends just trying to make sense of their sound. And that raw beginning is exactly what shaped Three Doors Down into something different, something grounded. When Kryptonite exploded onto the scene, it didn't sound like anything else on the radio at the time. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't overproduced. It was moody, melodic, and slightly mysterious, and Brad Arnold's voice carried it with a calm intensity that pulled people in rather than pushing them away. Suddenly, a band from Mississippi was everywhere, and Brad went from being a local musician to the frontman of one of the biggest rock bands in the world almost overnight. But what's interesting is how little he changed because of it. While fame swallowed many artists, whole Brad stayed rooted in who he was, writing songs that focused on struggle, belief, doubt, love, loss, and the quiet battles people fight every day, and that consistency is why the band didn't fade after one hit. As the years went on, Three Doors Down became a constant presence rather than a trend, releasing songs that didn't scream for attention but stayed with listeners long after the music stopped. Tracks like Here Without You and When I'm Gone became emotional anchors for fans, played at moments of heartbreak, distance, reflection, and healing. And Brad's vocals always felt like they were speaking directly to one person rather than a crowd. That connection is rare, and it's built on authenticity, not perfection. Brad never tried to be the loudest singer in the room. He focused on being the most sincere, and that sincerity carried the band through changing music eras, shifting trends, and an industry that often forgets artists as quickly as it celebrates them. But Brad Arnold's story isn't just about music. It's also about resilience, belief, and facing life head-on when things get uncomfortable. Over the years, he's been open about personal struggles, health challenges, and the importance of faith in his life, and that openness made fans feel even more connected to him because it reminded them that the person behind the voice was human, vulnerable, and still figuring things out like everyone else. Recently, as news about his health brought his name back into conversations, fans across the world paused, not just because they admired him as an artist, but because they felt like they knew him, like he'd been there for them through certain chapters of their lives, and now they wanted to be there for him in return. What makes Brad Arnold stand out isn't controversy, headlines, or drama. It's longevity built on trust. He never needed to reinvent himself every year to stay relevant, because his relevance came from truth. His songs aged with his audience, growing deeper as listeners grew older, and that's why people still stream, share, and talk about his music today. In a world obsessed with viral moments and instant fame, Brad represents something almost forgotten: the power of consistency, patience, and staying true to your core even when the noise around you gets louder. Looking back, it's clear that Brad Arnold didn't just help create hit songs, he helped create moments in people's lives. Moments of comfort, strength, and understanding. His voice became a soundtrack for long drives, late nights, quiet thoughts, and emotional crossroads, and that kind of impact can't be measured by charts alone. Whether standing on a massive stage or facing personal battles away from the spotlight, Brad's story reminds people that strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes it speaks calmly, honestly, and with purpose. And that's why Brad Arnold still matters, not just as the lead singer of Three Doors Down, but as a symbol of enduring artistry in an industry that rarely slows down. His journey shows that you don't need to chase trends to be remembered. You need to tell the truth, stay consistent, and let your work speak for you. In the end, Brad Arnold isn't just part of rock history. He's part of people's personal histories, and that's a legacy that doesn't fade. It only grows stronger with time.